If you've given your power to something to believe it, then it
hmm
becomes qualified as your reality, even if it's not real.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Welcome, everybody, to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I am so grateful to be with you. We've got, of course, another absolute wondrous guest. He is absolutely a spiritual rock star. This guy started off, I'm giving away his story a little bit, but 17 years old, he was a Pentecostal minister, and now he's doing like all this big spiritual awakening stuff with lots of people around the world, and just growing and growing, with this work that he's doing. And so when we're talking about like, yeah, don't we feel like the sense of a 3D crisis where we're called into a 5D transformation? Well, we're going to get into it today, and you're going to want to hear everything David has to share about it. He's got lots of amazing perspectives and wisdom on this. So David, I'm grateful to have you here today.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our time together.
Likewise. Okay, so let's go ahead and let them know a little bit more about you to get started. So, David Hulse is a vibrant spiritual guide who bridges traditional doctrines with contemporary spiritual insights. David has decades of experience as a minister, teacher, author, and healer, and has journeyed from a fundamentalist Christian upbringing to an inclusive spiritual vista that champions love over fear. David is the founder and spiritual guide at the Academy for Spiritual Awakening, where his teachings weave together diverse spiritual traditions with modern scientific insights, inspiring individuals to move beyond mere belief in God toward experiencing the divine within themselves. He integrates wisdom from spiritual avatars across ages, emphasizing the co creative, transformative power transformative power of aligning with divine consciousness through prayer, meditation, and contemplation. He's dedicated to challenging conventional religious dogmas, which is awesome. David offers a message of unconditional love, inclusivity, and the power of gnosis, direct knowledge of from source. David's teachings uniquely bridge the gap between the 3D material world and a 5D spiritual awakening, guiding individuals on a transformative journey towards higher consciousness. He calls upon lightworkers to embrace their roles as co creators in this shift, helping humanity transcend the limitations of the 3D matrix. And a matrix it is, isn't it, David? So, yeah. Like I again, one of my favorite movies. Somebody were to ask me what's my favorite movie, I always say it's The Matrix. It's I really got into that movie, and there's just so much truth in it. Really, I mean, behind it. So we are in this matrix. People have been talking about it for a while now, but I think we constantly are in this journey where even the spiritual seekers and leaders, even, I mean, we get caught up. The matrix so persistent. It's like we forget at times. Like, wait a minute, this is just sort of this 3D matrix we're all caught up in. And so I know you have a big background with being in a 3D matrix, or you were totally convinced, I imagine, when you're a Pentecostal preacher, what you believed back then, right? And so now you have this big transformation into this work that you're doing now. So what aspects of the matrix did you have to did you awaken to? How did it hit you? Usually it hits people hard somehow, right? So how did it start hitting you hard, and what was your journey towards awakening?
Okay. Actually, this all began as early as I can remember being a conscious person, which was very, very young. But as I was kind of drug around from church to church, revival from revival, and all of that was going on those days, there was something about what I was hearing that just didn't resonate. And it
Mm,
was like something else was in my heart than what I was hearing. And I
Mm.
really call that conscious born. I believe that there is a critical mass of souls on the planet right now that must wake up to the fact that they are not here by any accident, but they're here with extreme purpose for this time to be here. And I would say that person would know who they are if they had a different rapport with time and space. And what I mean by that, maybe they felt like the outcast or the one in the family that was not understood or did not think traditionally or had their own thoughts about things or asked questions that stirred everybody else up. I have a feeling there's people listening to us right now that would go, that's me. Yeah.
Me, yeah, me.
So I call that, Barbara Marx Hubbard actually coined the phrase conscious born. But I believe we came in on a different frequency, a different portal to incarnate this time. And I think that we came prepared for this time that we're living in. And I think once we kind of fall into this density of a 3D world, that we forget a lot of that. And then there's religions that popped up and says, well, you don't have it, but we got it for you. And they should have been teaching us that we already have it, but we have forgotten it. We need to
Yeah.
remember it. And that's
Hmm.
what I try to do. I don't try to convert people to any one belief system. I'm not even on this program in any way to try to change somebody's mind about anything, but I'm just facilitating some information that has been channeled to me that might resonate with them because I
Right.
think that we need to awaken to our own self knowledge. I like
Mm.
that. And that's why I'm really attracted at this time into Gnosticism, because I think that before the Christian church institutionalized itself and made it the Christian church and the only way, and everybody else was a heretic, that there was those of that first, second century who were just seeking knowledge. And they were seeking direct knowledge, which is the word gnosis. And I think that's what's happened to me. I think that I've somehow tapped into something that begin to fall into my mind thoughts that I would not have thought. And
Hmm.
I bet everybody out there has had, where'd that thought come from? That's not the way I think, but this thought shows up. And you have this epiphany moment, that aha moment that something is coming from a higher state of consciousness into your human consciousness. And that's what's been happening to me for a lot of decades. A lot of people have called it revelation teaching, but really it
Hmm.
was more than a revelation. It was actually channeling some things in my higher consciousness that I have not been in touch with in this 3D simulated matrix world that I live in. But I think that people are waking up everywhere, Daniel. I really do. And I
Hmm.
think that people need some guidance right now as to what does it mean to become an awakened person. Because when you start waking up in the matrix, you start seeing the matrix for what it is and how that it has formed you and created you in its image and likeness. And we've forgotten the authentic self.
I love that. I've never heard that way of putting it before. The
Well,
Matrix created you in its image. I like that one. That might be one I use going in the future. I love it. So yeah, that's so true. I mean, I feel like yeah, I born awake or born conscious or whatever, all the different terms. I had many different challenges, as a young person, but being born awake wasn't one of them. Like that's something that came natural for me. I be like, there's no Santa Claus, to give me a break, like early, very, very young, like 3, 4 years old, or whatever, like right away, like, no, this isn't true. And then just going to church, just right away, just like, yeah, I already know all this isn't true, but certain aspects are really good and feel good and are maybe have truth in them. And like, I mean, like it's just like this, like just that instant connection and knowing that I had in that regard growing up. So I think you're right. There are a lot of people like us that have had those kind of experiences and um, been trying to figure it out. Then they just feel like, I know for me, I just felt like I was so awkward. I tried to fit in a little bit for a while as a kid, but and I felt I felt good in a way because people liked me, and then the minute you start trying to be more who you really are, no, that doesn't work when everybody else is in the matrix. They're like, okay, we don't like him anymore, and that's kind of how it goes for a lot of us. I think that's what happened for me, and then you run into depression, anxiety. I know, like I told my psychiatrist growing up, hey, I could move objects, I could blow things up, I can. Okay, I get prescriptions. That's what you get when you talk about all that stuff. So I'm saying, like, I totally relate to this journey, and you know, were you channeling? Were you tapping into frequencies and sort of channeling and seeing things and as a child and growing up as well, or how did that work for you?
Well, being a part of the Pentecostal movement, the one thing I can take from it is not any of the doctrine, but an experience. And that allowed me to have an experience. They call it the baptism of the Holy Spirit. But when you look at what that is, it just merely means your higher consciousness penetrating your human consciousness. And when
Mm-hmm.
that happens, you get a quickening. I call it
Mm-hmm.
a quickening. And that
Mm-hmm.
means it's a shift in frequency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you begin to open up uh, parts of your consciousness that's multidimensional, and you start accessing things more in a vertical than in a linear way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of happened to me at 17 years old. And I was a very shy, skinny little kid that was nervous to talk to anybody. And after that experience happened to me, this voice would boom out of me and people would react to it. And
Mm-hmm.
people started asking me to come and speak to all their groups and young groups and things like that. And that was 63 years ago. And I haven't shut up since. But I immediately saw things differently. I'll give you an example of a gnosis moment for me that set me on a different trajectory. And that was the thought nobody in the Bible spoke English. Now, that's not a thought I would have thought of myself. Because, like everybody, I assume that the Bible was the inspired word of God, and God spoke English, and Jesus spoke English, and everybody spoke English, and everybody was from the Western culture. And I just woke up to the fact nobody spoke English. So I want to know, well, if they didn't, what did they really say?
Right.
Well, I started looking into the Greek and Hebrew, and then I learned that Jesus was kind of, or Yeshua, I call him, actually was influenced by the Essenes and would have spoken Aramaic. So I
Right.
started looking all these things up and talking from those definitions, which
Yeah.
gave a completely different message than the literal message.
Right.
So I began to have a different connection with being able to teach the Bible on a more deeper spiritual metaphysical level. And the Bible is still a lot of my language, but I believe it's so coded. I believe you have to really understand that what is being said is hidden in those words as a frequency. And I think that what the truth is in there is truth in us.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
Mm-hmm.
learn from things outside of myself. I use things outside of myself, such as books or listening to somebody talk or a workshop. I'm listening for what resonates my own innate intelligence center.
Right.
Then when that happens, that's what I qualify into my belief system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
So, that gets into some cool stuff because your
Mm-hmm.
belief system is kind of your blueprint for cellular reproduction. When cells die and recreate themselves, they're reading your etheric blueprint, which
Mm-hmm.
is all of your experiences that you have qualified as what you believe. Even if it's true or not, if you've given your power to something to believe it, then it
Mm-hmm.
becomes qualified as your reality, even if it's not real.
Right.
That makes sense to you? So you're making it real. You're making something unreal be real with what is real, and that's your
Right.
power. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, so again, just the matrix language. The matrix is telling you this is real, that's real, the other thing's real, giving you all these ideas of what's real. Global warming's real, it's not real. It's like all these polarities too, right? All the polarities of thinking, and um, so it's yeah, it's very very interesting. So the opportunity is, I always see with that is, if you get beyond the constriction and the belief, you raise up into higher expanded energy and frequency, and then that tips you into the 5D. So really understanding the real truth, because usually the truth is the opposite of what we've been told, from the Matrix, right? It's the opposite. It's like you're limited, there's not much possible for you or whatever. Work hard, that's the only way, and things like that. And maybe you'll get by, maybe you can thrive, maybe you need to save a lot of money, and not all of it's bad. It's just that it gives you a certain mold, like this is the
Right.
the way, the way. And
Yeah.
and we all know there's not only a way, not even in spirit, into, for me, spiritual awakening, there's not one way. There not exactly, I mean, not in my opinion. I think there's different ways into the way, so to speak. So is that how you would look at that? I mean, because we are hit with all these things. I just did a whole event around become a spiritual rock star in 2025, and we're talking about all these things going on and the opportunity in it. So I think there's a huge opportunity in what seems like is a huge, we keep looking at California right now with the fires, and as a symbol, it's almost like symbolism too. I know it's an actual tragedy, but it's also symbolism, like, yeah, all this stuff is burning down. Like, what? There's a fire happening inside, and so there's something to be gained from that, and there's so many ways to utilize that to portal us into the 5D. So I'm curious how you see it. Like, how does it portal us into the 5D?
Well, being raised to a 5D dimension is the ability to look at what we thought was real in 3D and see it from a completely different point of view. And you talk about the fires, and we could talk about all the things that are going on that look so
Yeah.
horrible right now. But when you see
Right.
it from a 5D, you begin to see what's behind all of the symbolism. And you understand that this is just a part of transformation that is going on. And you know what? You got to have crises before transformation. You got to
Mm-hmm.
have chaos before a divine new order is set. This is such a worn out illustration, but that little caterpillar just fascinates me. That's crawling on the leaf, eating its resources up as it goes until there's nothing left on the leaf and nowhere to go till it feels it's like it's the end. It's the end of the world. And it is the end of the world of the caterpillar. But it's at that moment that something awakens in the caterpillar that was innately there, and that was a different DNA blueprint of itself. And
Mm-hmm.
I use this illustration because there's a place in Scripture that I really think is beyond the Bible, but it says, "Thank God we shall not all sleep." Now, sleep is a code word for illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And but we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye. And that word change there in Greek is metamorpho.
Hmm.
So it's not talking about a change from here to there. It's talking about a transformation into something other than who we have been, into an evolved state of that which what we're becoming as a different human. See, I think we're in evolution right now and creation together. I call it crelution, that has come together, and we're seeing this coming together of the next level of what it means to be human. Like the caterpillar. And I want to say, I always tell people that little caterpillar doesn't go through that to emerge as an enlightened caterpillar. And I'm not going through what I'm coming through to be an enlightened 3D human being. I'm going through this because I do believe there's a new set of blueprints that is being awakened in us that's going to take us to the next level. And we could, if using the language of evolution, we could say we're moving from Homo sapiens sapien to Homo luminous, or a light human being.
Hmm.
So this is big, Daniel. I mean, this is not a little. I feel bad. I want to feel better. I'm broken. You need to fix me. I mean, there's plenty of that out there, and I'm glad for it. If I have something wrong with me, I'm going to look for those kind of practitioners who can try to help me. But I'm really looking for people that's working with transformation. How
Right.
can we really change our base vibration of what it means
Right.
to be a 3D human
Mm.
to 5D? Now, everybody talks about 3D to 5D, but everybody skips over 4D.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people do. Yes.
And you can't do that any more than that old story in the Bible about the children of Israel being in slavery and getting out of Egypt and running over to Canaan without the desert in between.
Hmm.
We've got this place now in which is polarization. It is the time in which all of the pathology that we have miscreated for ourselves in 3D is emerging upon the body politic. And it's not doing it as a punishment from some God, it's doing it for a healing process that we
Hmm.
can heal all this pathology and free ourselves of all of the karmic debt of 3D to become initiates to take the next step. And that's what I'm helping. And I think there's others around the world that want to do this too, but to help people to make this transition into what it means to be a 5D person. uh, Person. So I could get into so much there, but it's really quite a interesting time. When I first started this 25 years ago, and I started the teaching on the vibration and sound in meditation, I just formed in my mind a question that said, "Do you want to try to fix what's broken down, or do you want to work with what's breaking through?" I didn't even know what that meant at that time in my brain, but somewhere in my consciousness, I said, "I'm going to work with breakthrough." And I believe what's breaking through is what I call 5D photon data information that is coming out of 5D. And we've got to have this information to navigate us through this breakdown that we're going through in also 4D. And I think it's very important that people understand that there's a message to empower them, to make it clear, to sharpen their intuition and their guidance so that they can make it through this time of such intense breakdown that we're going through, whether it's politics, religion, science, finance system. Everything is coming unglued at the seams, but it has to, or it won't be able to change its frequency to be reordered at a higher frequency and to evolve itself. So anyway, I hope that's not too much, but uh, that's the message that burns upon my heart is we are standing on the threshold of our own bioconscious evolution.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, so there's so much, again, there's so many directions to take this. And yeah, I mean, things have to break down in order for there to be a transformation. That caterpillar has to disappear basically, or be totally transformed in order to become a butterfly, right?
Yep.
So you're not gonna, be able to keep some of the butterfly, or some of the caterpillar, is what I'm trying to say, to be I got, half butterfly, I'm half caterpillar, and you're not gonna be. So I think, a lot. So there's different, in personal development. I know you've done a lot of personal development. People say um, the big thing in personal development, especially these days, everybody talks about identity shift, right? We need an identity shift. That's how we change. And you identify as this way, you need to identify this way, in order to change. So but then there's spiritual teachers say that's just all the usual nonsense. We need to transcend all of that idea. There is no identity. There's only the only, like, and all those types of things. So, do you find yourself, like, when you're working with people on this and you're helping them to shift? Because I'm really still very curious how you help them with the shift. Are you using principles of personal development alongside, these ancient spiritual teachings type of things, these long traditions, or is it something completely different? I'm really curious how you go about helping people.
Okay, well, on one level, how I help some people who are coming from, say, a religious background or that type of thinking, I'm trying to help them to reevaluate a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the information that they have so empowered in themselves. You know, you got to be careful what you really believe in because, as the old saying, the word becomes flesh. So it really becomes you at some point. So I try to get people to rethink, revalue some of the things they've been taught. Um, for instance, I spent a lot of these 60 years looking for the truth with a capital T. And you don't know how many times I thought I'd found it. I found it in this religion. I found it in this group. I found it in this school of thought. And I've been through a lot of them and thinking this is the one, this is the it. And to find out that there was more to learn or uh, nothing was absolute. And I just kept on and kept on. And one day I was really contemplating this. And for some reason, I picked up a Bible for some reason. I don't even know why. And I picked it up to a story where it says Yeshua, we know him as Jesus, stood before Pilate, the powers to be. And Pilate said, "What is the truth?" Now, I was waiting for him to, in the Bible, start preaching to him or teaching him or telling him something, but he said nothing. Sometimes the greatest answer is in the no thing, it's in the silence, be still and know type thing. And I thought, well, why didn't he say something? And something said to me he was saying something. And I didn't understand what that meant until I turned over and it said, "I am the truth." And I thought, wait a minute, the truth I'm looking for is not a perfect philosophy, a theology, a mental construct. It is an identity. And that's when I discovered that the truth is who we are. And everything else, I mean, nothing else is absolute. Stop
Mm-hmm.
and think. If I went to a meeting today of Alcoholics Anonymous, the first thing they're going to say is, "I am an alcoholic." If I go to the Democratic Party, they're going to say, "I'm a Democrat," or the Republican, "I'm a Republican." Or maybe the atheists across town are meeting and they're saying, "I'm an atheist." They all started from the same point in consciousness, "I am."
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
before the label came, we all just were.
Right.
Yeah. And you can't define that. It is the authentic, and I think and understanding that is why sometimes you can't even define God. How do you define something that has no beginning and no end, no no birth and no death? You can't do it. It's impossible. So the only way we can understand these things that we have so all been searching for a long time is to just be still and realize that the truth is the I am. I call it the I am presence that's in us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you removed all those labels, imagine what the world would be if everybody just said "I am" and didn't say Republican, Democrat, or atheist, or born again Christian, or whatever. If all those labels was taken out and all everybody said is "I am," we would be joined as a people just like that. So
Yeah.
these two little words "I am" is so powerful to me that I use it a lot. And I'm trying to not say things like "I am sick."
Right.
The "I am" can't be sick. The "I
Right.
am" can't be that. So that was my search that give me a place where I could relax into this idea of something bigger than myself, this whole God source, whatever thing that came to me. So I just wanted to share that with you. That was my experience.
Yeah. I feel that's part of in my own look at it anyway. Love to hear your perspective here. Is we're talking about 3D to 5D and then the 4D. To me, the way I sort of see the 4D is that it's that's kind of where you're claiming your personal power, your will, that you are something more than just some 3D human running around. You have this. You do have willpower. You do have an ability to choose and to create and manifest, and people get really good at that. And then, some of the circles that I go in the coach and healer industry, some people say, they'll say things like, yeah, a lot of people are still stuck in 4D and all this stuff, and they need to go to 5D like me, or what. Like, there's a lot of ego in this stuff. People are, I'm such a high being and all this stuff. And the minute somebody says they're a high being, I know we got a problem. So so I think, like, to me, I'd rather someone see me as just some goofy human than as a high being, because it's so goofy to me. But yeah, we have the ability to portal. For me, my portal was metaphysics to from Christianity and all that, which I never really fully believed in anyway, so at all. But I got into metaphysics eventually, late 20s, early 30s, and then that catapulted me into higher consciousness. Okay, wow, all of a sudden, like, I'm channeling, I'm doing energy scans, I'm getting downloads. Boy, I'm so fluid. I could walk right through this wall. I didn't never really have done that, but I'm just saying, like, that's the kind of vibe you get into. Like, everything's possible, man. Like, everything's easy. It's like everything's so fluid. This is crazy to my 3D mind, right? But it does. There is that graduation from sort of that happens, that you kind of enter into the 4D and the 5D. I do think sometimes you can get around, that whole learning course. Some people, just for the fact that if you have a near-death experience and all of a sudden your whole being is transformed instantly. But you're right. I mean, for most of us, you're right. A portal usually is to go through the 4D first, and then you tend to raise from there. But that's what I mean. There is no one way, is there?
Oh, and that's the unique thing about it. And that's the thing about religion that bothers me. And you mentioned it earlier, is
Yeah.
our way is the only way. Everything else is
Mhm.
wrong and false and whatever. That's ridiculous. I mean,
Yes.
whatever creator is, whatever this intelligent is, seems to be a very diversified, individualized expression of itself. And we are deeply that individualization of itself, uh, that we truly are. So I really like the way that you put it too, also. But I was just thinking when you were saying, I was kind of getting a little download there. But I liked what you were saying about the fact that we talk about things like walking through walls and things like that, which is kind of now showing up when quantum physics and things like that is kind of proving things are not as solid as we thought. But really, we haven't walked through a wall yet, but we're getting 5D thoughts.
Right.
We're still in the 3, 4D. But when we get to 5D, we'll be able to do those things.
Right. Right. And some
And
people have done those things reportedly, right? I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard and
I've
said
heard
some
of it too.
witness people do it, right? Yeah.
And I
Right.
don't doubt people are not experiencing some of these things, who
Right.
are very dedicated to their spiritual life, that are kind of ahead of everybody else. But and thank God for those kind of people that are out there to show us that this is going to happen to you if you keep following the path,
Mhm.
toward
Yeah.
your.
Right. Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I think, like, I have done things that may make people think that I could do things like that. Just simple things, like, just like, if this light bulb goes out, I could just turn it back on. Like, in other words, if it burns out, I could just turn it to flame again. I've done those things. But people will watch me do these things, and then they'll be like, oh, whatever, it's a magic trick, or like, that's what the 3D, they're just think I'm a magician person, and it's not like for real, like, so to speak. And so I gave up, because I used to put some videos out here and there in the past and stuff that I was doing, and to try to show people, but they didn't take it that way in my case. Maybe it's the way I presented it. I don't know, but they're just like, "Oh, that's interesting," and I could just tell they didn't. They just thought, "Well, whatever. It's random, or it's magic, or whatever." So, yeah, that disbelief, the belief system has to be shifted so people can even understand. Like, yeah, that really just happened. What you're seeing there.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I think while we're kind of overlapping still with 3 and 5D in 4D, is
Mhm.
is where the work is going to be done right now. What we call the deeper shadow work, the clearing out of old karmic patterns and mispatternings that we've kind of carried and stuffed into our unconscious thing. I tell you something I'm very excited about that's happening. I think it's a phenomenon, but it is this growing thing of light language. I don't know if you've heard about light language or not, but it seems to be coming a lot about Australia, New Zealand, and that part of the world. I'm,
Right.
in fact, I'm doing a workshop tomorrow on light language uh,
Cool.
at my center here because I'm excited about the fact that that light is speaking for itself instead of going through the filters of language I've learned in my brain. It's speaking directly. And of course, I come from Pentecost where we spoke in tongues, they called it, or glossolalia.
Yeah.
But this is a different thing than that. And I'm just amazed how many young people are experiencing this light language. And what I think it is, Daniel, I think it is an awakening of a part of our unconsciousness that is waking up and becoming a part of the light body within us. And it's speaking these new symbols and sounds, which hold new vibrations and frequencies that's going to retune us into a true 5D and beyond citizen, so to speak. So we're kind of in a citizen 3D. I've been a citizen. Now I'm going to be a citizen of 5D. And what has been seen as magic and a miracle in 3D becomes the norm and the established in 5D.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just another day in the park, you know.
Mhm.
It really is because it's all the ego. I remember that one of the videos I showed my daughter when she was younger. She got very disturbed at first. She's like, "Whoa!" Scared, you know, by it, you know, like. And I'm like, no, be not afraid, yeah, like, you know, because I mean, what I've really done, like, ever since I started doing the downloads and reading people's energies when people are being so impressed by it. That's why I offer energy scan training. I didn't want that. I was like, no, I mean, you all can do this. You all have these capacities. And, you know, I have hundreds of students later, you know, I've got a lot of evidence that that's absolutely true. And so we all have these, capacities. And yeah, what would the world be like, right? I mean, I've thought about that for a long time, like you have, right? What would that world be like? And we channel it, and we imagine that. And but yeah, imagine we're not, you know, fighting about various positions and whatnot, but we're actually just tuning into the higher frequency, even starting there. I mean, like, okay, instead of arguing, let's tune in and see what we're getting on this
Yeah.
issue that we're legislating on, or whatever, you know, if it were a legislation thing, you know. But nobody's doing that, you know, that I know of. You know, maybe somebody is, but they're not doing it that way right now. It's all about argumentation, logic, and reasoning, and what do people want, and what do the special interests want, what do the people that give us money want. You know, it's all that stuff rather than just authentically what are we being asked to do here. And it's funny. It seems like that there was more of that going on in ancient days, right? So like that's
Mhm.
why I think like in some ways like we devolved in some ways and advanced in other ways. And now it's like, so it's very interesting history, isn't it?
It's like a paradox. You
Yeah.
go down to go up higher,
Mm.
right? And I
Hmm.
think we've had to back down to
Hmm.
really get that spring to move higher than we
Hmm.
are today. And it
Hmm.
looks like we're devolving and going back, but we're actually repositioning ourselves for this great shift that I
Hmm.
think is very close. In fact, the worse it looks out here to me in 3D, the more excited I get about 5D. I
Yes.
really do. I think we're getting
Yeah.
closer, closer. It's kind of the darkest before the dawn,
Right.
and
Right.
I think we're kind of there where things look so crazy right now and so divided. But I think underneath there's something very powerful and spiritual going on.
That's a great point. Because I just said to one of my friends today, we were talking about politics and this and that, um, and I'll just put it this way. I mean, I just said, yeah, I'm happy for some of the things happening, but I'm also everything is making me very nervous. You know, it makes me very nervous. If I'm being totally honest, I feel very nervous. But then if I even get more honest about it, underneath the nervousness, always usually this is true. You're actually just really excited. It's like, oh my God, what's happening here? This is amazing. So underneath that it's like a nervous excitement, but at first it kind of feels fearful. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, but that's kind of like the sense of being on that roller coaster, right? Like, whoa, where are we going? I have no idea. I am certainly not controlling it, so to speak, right? And we're just, yeah, we're being portaled in a way, right? And I truly believe, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time before everybody, increasingly everybody is saying these type of things. I think I marked 2025 as the year of more public, like truly public alien contact. But by the end of the year, people were like, "Did it happen? He's wrong." But yeah, I've been getting that for a long time, and a lot of people are saying this too, right? So I think like we're really ready for just like you said, just this massive transformation, like you said. I'll just put it to that like that.
Yes, as I said, we're being positioned right now. Everything
Yes.
that's happening in our life, whether we like it or not, good or bad, however we choose to perceive it, is all a spiritual thing to position us to be in the right place at the right time. And when Trump got in, and I'm not trying to get on pro or con, but when he did, and a lot of people were disappointed because they wanted it to go a different way. One of the messages I did at my spiritual center that Sunday was from Pharaoh to president. And I was using this story of how the children of Israel had been in slavery for 340 years, but did nothing about it. All they talked about was someday we'll get out of here. Someday it's going to change. And I hear that in religion. Someday I'm going to die and go to heaven. Someday Jesus is going to come back and get me and all that kind of thing. But nobody does anything about it now. And I just thought about how it said, and God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. God hardened the heart of Pharaoh because Pharaoh was used to get them out of complacency and get them moving. And I think we have fallen into a place of indifference a little too much. And I think that there's some things going on and some players right now that are going to be used to get us on the move toward our transformation and transition that we're going. So instead of us judging them through the five senses, we need to see that there's something bigger going on, I think, to get us moving and intensify this process of our evolution to the next level.
Oh, that's really well put. I mean, there's so much going on, and yeah, the polarity that a Trump energy, creates is perfect in my opinion. I mean, you could say whatever you want about him. It's perfect because it's like, okay, I could see where people could love him. I can see where people could hate him. I could see everything in between. Perfect. I mean, it's a perfect scenario, perfect storm of everything, but also, it's exposing so many things. The whole thing is exposing things. It's exposing things at every level, politically, emotionally, spiritually. Like everything's being exposed right now. Like everything. The yeah. I mean, all the things you said. The Bible is a shadow of its former self. I mean, it's in fact was before it's called the Bible, it was Sumerian text, right? The beginning of it, at least, right? And so, like, these are just ancient, old transmissions, and somebody just says this is just the infallible word of God that's been dropped on someone's head one day, and here it all is. No, it was crafted. It was totally twisted this way and that way, and then it's used to control, right? Which you're this is what you're here to help people wake up once they start realizing, like, no, this has never felt right, and I don't know what's true, and I don't know about this new age stuff quite yet, but I'm kind of curious about it or whatever. Like, it sounds like you could be a good bridge for those people to be like, yeah, there is something more, and let me support you in that shift, and because I think there's a lot of people that really love aspect. I've seen this with a lot of my friends that do, different work, but similar on the same wavelength, sort of as you. And they're like, they don't want to get rid of all of their past background and their beliefs, and they hold so much of it precious, but so much of it's false, right? So I'm imagining that you help people with that, right? They not to throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say.
Thank you for saying that because that's exactly where I am. There's a scripture that says, "Who shall stand in the gap and make up the hedge?" I'm in the gap. I'm between a world that's dying and a world that's birthing. At the same time, there's part of me that's grieving for the old, and there's a part of me that's excited about the new. And I think there's a lot of people that are in that same place. And we who have given years and years and years to try to understand the depths of Christianity and the Bible and all of that, why would we want to throw it all away? That's in our first, second, and third chakra. Those are our energy databases where we hold our story from conception to 7, and then from 7 to 13, 12 years old, and then to adult. All of that is in there. That's who makes us what we are. But I think a lot of people have suppressed it because they don't understand it. They think it's all fear-based and whatever. Well, I was raised on the King James Version of the Bible. That was the Bible that God wrote, apparently. But I get people now to say, open your King James Bible. What does it say on the first page? King James Version. It didn't say God's version. It says it's King James Version.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited. I teach a lot on the Nag Hammadi,
Mm.
lost books of the Bible.
Okay. Yeah. Right. I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the book of Thomas, the 1,500 things that Jesus said that never got in the Bible. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God. And Mary Magdalene, who they made a prostitute, was actually the greatest apostle that Jesus had. And then in the Bible, you've got 18 years missing of Jesus's life. There's nothing from 12 to 30 years old when he was running around in India and the Himalayas and learning all these things that we call magic. He was learning how to work with energy and how to manipulate it and whatever. And then he said, I'm going to come back and show you the way. Well, what did they do? They edited out the way. So we wouldn't know how to do what he did. So
Right.
now we can just worship him and try to get him to do everything for us instead of tap into our own potential and possibilities. When in their Bible, one thing they left in the Bible they should have took out was, and the works I do, you shall do, and even greater.
Right. Right. Exactly. That's the exact one I was thinking of. And I always just simplify it like many people do to these things and greater you shall do, like, and so that's something that's very, yeah, something, I mean, that's what he was showing. He was showing people the truth. I mean, but yeah, I mean, and there's a lot with, yeah, like he didn't just go to India, but he had he did many different legs of teachings and learned from ISIS, and I don't know, all these different all this stuff, and all these ideas. Now I don't know, I believe most of them are true, but we don't know what's true for 1,000,000%. But like, this is what we're uncovering more what seems to be true when we tune into that internal guidance system or whatever you want to call it. Like we're like, that sounds more true, right? So it makes more sense to me now. And but at the same time, for some people, it confuses them. They don't know what's the truth. And but yeah, just sharing information, like you said, rather than trying to convince somebody of something, it's so important. And how I would say to people too, like I'm sure you do, what resonates, take it. I don't expect you to necessarily believe this when it comes to such things, and it's up to you to tune in and see what you sense is true for you. What resonates, and leave the rest for now. There's things I fought and you fought along the way, or like, no, that's not true. And usually, the louder you protest, the more true it is. So,
Well, I'm glad you're bringing that back up again, because let's revisit the fact that the truth with a capital T is the I am that you are. The rest, you have to find out what is true for you.
right,
This is why I disagree with religion. You can't join my religion and I'm going to tell you everything that's true for you. And think about all the denominations and groups of Christianity that don't even agree with each other, and they preach the same Bible. It's
right,
because we have to find out what is true. And to kind of address what you just said, the only way I know what's true for me is what resonates.
right, right,
That quickening that I have, that gnosis moment of direct knowledge. Now, if I read or hear something that I go, that's kind of interesting, but I'm not sure, rather than judge it right or wrong, good or bad, I contemplate it in the neutral part of myself. If it's for me, it will resonate my own truth and I'll have my own aha moment. Then I say, okay, that's true for me. But that doesn't mean it's going to be true for you.
right. Right.
And that's what the Gnostics did the first second. They were just little groups of people seeking knowledge. There wasn't a centralized place. There wasn't a church. There wasn't a religion. It was just people saying, if there's something out there, I need to hear from it.
Right.
And those are the things that was hidden in those caves that was not found until 1945, in December of 1945, the year I was born, by the way. So I think that started the time of what I call the restitution of all things spoken by the mouth of the prophet. It tells us that this age cannot end until everything that's been edited out of indigenous people, Native Americans, Aborigines, all those things that have been taken out is re-entering back in again and being restored back to us again so that we can fulfill 3D. You don't want to leave 3D till you fulfill 3D. You know, it says that Jesus said, I didn't come to destroy the law, but fulfill it. And we got to fulfill 3D. I don't know how to say that, but you can't drag your 3D karma over into 5D and work on it. That all has to be taken care of, that you are totally reborn, a new creation, a new creature into 5D.
Now, you mentioned about shadow work. So right now, a lot of things are getting stirred up for people that I think, again, that's where, you could make an argument that a Trump figure, forget his personality, but at a spiritual level, is a great awakener. I mean, he might be the greatest spiritual teacher that's ever lived. Like how many people he's triggering.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Yes.
it's stirring up a lot of stuff. I mean, him and other things that are going on in the world. And so I mean, a lot of people have different ideas of what the shadow is, but to me, that sort of taps into what I would consider the shadow. That's what's hidden is part of it. I mean, the locked up energies, the things that keep you off center, misaligned, right? Things you're not even aware of that live in the unconscious and little critters in there. So I
You're
think,
putting that,
right now is the time to be with those things, right?
I like the way you put that. That is exactly it. It's things
Mhm.
we pushed back, pushed aside, don't want to deal with, and then we went on, and it's catching up to us. So everything
Mhm.
that has been hidden shall be revealed, and that's what's
Mhm.
happening, even in us. That's coming out of the shadow part of our unconscious mind is showing up,
Mhm.
and it's not showing up for any other reason for balance and healing and to integrate itself into the wholeness that
Mhm.
we are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know that through the work I've experienced and that I do, I mean, it's huge opportunities, the shadow side to, expand, into the light and more is possible, as we do this work. So tell us more about, directly what next steps people can take directly with you, to follow up with you, learn more about what you teach and to, implement, specific things that may be helpful to them.
Yeah, well, thank you. Of course, I would like to invite people to look into what we are offering right now uh, in the Academy for Spiritual Awakening. You can get on there and check us out. And we have on there something called the Awakening Sampler. And that means some samples of some of my teachings on different levels. What I'm doing, Daniel, is I'm trying to meet people who are beginners that's just like outgrown their religion, but they still hold some of the old ideas of fear-based stuff like sin and all of that. I'm going to teach them what that really means and how we can get freed from those kind of things. So that's called Bible 101 class you can take. Um, and then there's some other things that we're going to be doing. We're going to do different meditations. We're going to be doing some personal things with me in the community. And you can get on there. And all you have to do is to get on there right now is just www.davidhulse.com. That'll take you there. That's davidhulse.com. And that'll get you on there. Our purpose is to give you tools to realign yourself with divine essence, clarity during this transition, like what is going on? Uh, Everything feels different to me now. My what do I do about my job? What do I do about a relationship? Because 3D relationships and jobs are all transforming and changing. So what are we going to do in 5D? We need to get into spiritual entrepreneurship. When I started using tuning forks, from a download 25 years ago, it went all over the world. I've taught people all over the world and certified people in 5 or 6 different languages. I just recently sold that. But it all started out with an idea of how can I use raw, pure vibration to retune people. And I discovered these ancient frequencies and made a very nice business out of it that supported me very well, although that wasn't the reason. The reason was uh, to train people or to teach people how to help other people to retune themselves to what's going on in their life. So I think there's people out there that need to know that you don't always have to plug into the 3D way of doing things, that there is a better way. And you can be an entrepreneur, you can have downloads, you can get ideas. And especially today with what's going on, just like what you're doing here, which I want to say thank you so much for giving people like myself a platform and a voice to put out there. But people are doing wonderful things right now through using technology. I don't. Everybody asks me about AI and all of that. I use AI right now because it's wonderful, and I don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea. But if I don't use it, it's going to use me.
Yeah.
So I've decided to use it in the academy. It's helped me with so many things. So I'm not going to fear it. I'm going to use what we have and use it for the purpose of helping people to come to their next level. So again, just davidholtz.com. Check us out. Get on there and get the sampler. And we'd love to have you join us if you would. And we want to join with other people like yourself too. We don't want to be an isolated. We want to all come together. And you mentioned ego a while ago. We can't let the ego get in here and start thinking we're something more special than other people. We got to
Right.
empower people and tell them whatever gifts we have cultivated, they also have their gifts also in them.
Right.
Thank you again so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Definitely check that out. Check out the sampler. Check out more about David and the Academy for Spiritual Awakening. We've got the link below, but if you go to davidhalls.com, you'll be able to access all of that. So we got to the energy scan segment of the show, and so I'm going to do some tuning in with David now. Tune in for him, and you ready to receive, David?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. And now, guys, listen in. Like when I'm tuning in for him, likely there's something in it for you, right? So it's always the oneness sphere here. So, all right. So, David, just take me a second here to just get centered and see what really wants to come through the most. So I was just taking a look at like some of your pathway. I don't know what your thoughts about past lives are and whatnot, but I get a sense of past life of many different things. I got spiritual teacher. I see a merchant energy. So you bring it all together now, right? Got all that coming together. So, but I also got that, yeah, this. Something must have occurred that had you feel like you had to hunker down and you got to double down and you got to find out what's more real and more true or whatever. And I think like that's what kind of probably took you down pathways like the Pentecostal, but it's so deep in you the truth already from the past lives. That's why it could never really stick completely. So I just noticed that about you, that you actually have a lot of mystical, multidimensional stuff you built up through previous lifetimes, which I'm sure you've heard before, but it's always a good reminder, right? So, anyways, I just wanted to share that. Let me just get one more download and we'll move on from there. Mm. Yeah, I mean, like many truth tellers and healers, I definitely see like this. The way it shows it to myself right away anyway is just like a hanging kind of feeling. So definitely I actually think like there's probably lifetimes you've had on both sides where you've been the truth teller. um then I kind of wonder, though, I get this vibe that it's possible. I'm not sure on this one, but I kind of get like you may have been also in charge, trying to steer things in a certain way, in a stubborn way, and you're also persecuted for that. Like that's something that popped into my awareness. Um, so you really have evolved. You really have evolved, or really fleshed things out for your more full spectrum, big time in this life, and so that is really, really awesome to see about you. And so you'll bring wisdom that, that comes from only all the studying you love to do, but also from the past lives. And the more you do the light languaging and channeling, as you've been doing more of that, the more, you're going to experience that, 5D beyond self, and that is going to actually bring greater impact, than the intellect. And of course. So, um, anyway, I don't know. I just share what's there, what seems to pop up to share. So, any quick reflections on that, David?
Oh, I resonate with everything you said. It's so true that I'm a carryover from a past time. I didn't just start this thing when I got here. I brought it with me. It's been a process for a while. And I know I've been killed and persecuted severely in the past lives. I'm aware of that. So you confirmed that for me. So
Yeah, definitely for truth telling. It was really clear. So it's like, yeah, he's not really not going to give up, is he? Bang, let's take him out. Like, ha ha ha. All
yeah,
right. So, okay, so everybody, if you want to check me out, just go to yoursacredpurpose.com. You can definitely get energy scanning. I've got a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan consultation. Look into your energy, your chakras, to help guide your path, to help you to see what wants to happen for your purpose in your business. And if you're a healer or a light worker type, I have that to offer. I also have a free meditate and make money meditation right on the website, where you get downloads every day on what's going to help support you best, when navigating your path in your business, and brings on the activation of the money into your field. So check that out. It's for free. And I'll just mention again, I do offer energy scan trainings. We'll put a link below for you to check out an upcoming preview call on my energy scan training. That I just say, everybody just says, it's amazing. I can't believe I could tune in as well. I could do it too. And that's what we want. More and more people realizing that. And that for those that want to do a livelihood out of it, I teach you how to let it be easy, how to realize you could serve from your heart and take a stand for people, let them become clients, allow them to invest and say yes to themselves. We're infinite beings after all, so why not act like it? So anyway, you can check all that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. Okay.
Could I ask one more thing? Would you mind?
Sure,
I,
go ahead.
I'm a spiritual leader at Heartlight Spiritual Center here
Okay.
in Charlotte. So I do Sunday messages, Wednesday classes, and you can get tons of my stuff that I've done on heartlightcharlotte.org. That's heartlightcharlotte.org. And there's just tons of my teachings and stuff like that. And if people want to tune in and be a part of the center, we would just love to do that. Thank you for letting me do that. So.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's a whole big chunk of stuff you got to share with the world that got going on that we didn't even know about until you share. We don't know until we share it. So that's why I also share about the energy scan training. I don't know. I mean, it's a thing with promotions. If we don't promote, nobody will know we got this awesome stuff to take advantage of. I mean, so we got to share it, guys. We got to share it.
Thank
All
you.
right. So thank you, David. I'm really grateful to have had you on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
And thanks to our audience. Keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.